Hey guys, this is our next video is we're going to be talking about Joron's still with me, my husband, and we're going to be talking about following God into the unknown. And the story we're going to be kind of talking about is when God told us to get up. We lived in Minnesota, to get up and move from Minnesota to North Carolina in the it was like the beginning almost middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so we had three little kids, and it was like, Lord God, how are we going to get everybody from Minnesota all the way to North Carolina without catching COVID? We have to move a 4-bedroom house. And that was a trip in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because we were feeling in our spirits that God was leading us to move.
Mm-hmm.
So how that looked for me was I was in Minnesota. It was like, in Minnesota you have to have tough skin because it's always freezing cold in the winter. Like it's like cold until May.
It starts in October, and
Yeah.
it could very well be cold until the 1st of May.
No, it's like the 15th, because sometimes after Mother's Day, and I know because I like to plant flowers. So after Mother's Day, it gets warm. So that's kind of like in the middle of May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have May, June, maybe that's your spring if you get a spring.
Yeah.
And then it's
And
summer,
only
it's
1 month.
hot.
It's spring,
July.
and then July starts.
And I remember it was in the winter. And in the back of our house, we had what, an acre. So in the back of the house, the kids could go sledding because they had it was like hills. We had a golf course in the back of the house behind our backyard. Mm-hmm. So the kids could take their sleds and sled down the hills on the golf course in the winter when the snow piled up. And I remember just being out there with the kids one day. It wasn't specifically too cold that day. And I was just like, why are we here? Why am I living here in all this cold? Yeah. I like to be out. I like to be outside. And, I just felt the Lord was just like, you guys are leaving here. And I was like, yes, we're leaving. And then it was like, okay, where are we going?
Yeah. Yeah. That was kind of, yeah. So what happened? So from my side, God used the story of Abraham a lot just to teach me a bunch of different things. And one of these days, on my way I was about to read the Bible. I'm like, Lord, where do you want me to go? He's like, go back to Genesis 13 again. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll go there because, like I said, I've been there. He'd taken me there plenty of times and still brought new things out of about a good 4 or 5 passages. So anyways, one day he was reading me about, he brought me to the point where I think it's in 13 where Abraham and Isaac part. So Abraham and Isaac's shepherds start fighting. And the Bible says the land was not able to support them. Yeah. Right? And God had me read that over a few times, like the land was not able to support them. And then he was basically telling me, like, look, you're going to be leaving in a sense this place. Mm-hmm. Right? And he was like, in a sense, he's like, don't tell Anaya yet until I confirm it with her. And then he did.
He did. And I was like, I'm ready to go. I packed up the whole house. I was like, I got everything ready.
By the time you said, hey, let's go,
I was ready.
I had known it maybe a few months, maybe half a year, honestly, before you said anything. So then what happens is we start right at around September. We start trying to figure out, where it is that where are we going to go? Yeah,
we were like, okay, it's time to get up out of here.
Yeah.
Where is here?
Where is here? And we're looking at God. We're looking at God like, where do you want us to move? And he says, not so much says nothing, but didn't tell us is the point.
Yeah.
Right. And you're probably thinking, well, if God speaks to you so clearly, why didn't he tell y'all where to go? I don't know. Like, I'm not God. I don't own him. He runs me. I don't run him.
Definitely
He's the
don't
king.
own him.
You
It
know,
ain't happening.
He's the king. I don't know why he does what he does sometimes, but sometimes he's just kind of moving in faith. And also I think there was a little bit of like, he wanted us to also like, I guess just journey with
discover
it.
Because we went on our discovery, which it was a journey because, we had at one point after God told us, hey, you guys are leaving. Okay, we did everything. We packed up the house. Okay, we sold the house and we still didn't have a house to go to.
Yeah, we didn't.
We didn't. And so at that point, we were still like taking trips back and forth down south, like to Atlanta. We were like, Lord, do you want us to go to Atlanta?
So we went to Atlanta.
Do you want us to go
Tennessee,
to
Nashville?
Nashville. Like, and we journeyed to North Carolina, and it just kind of felt like this is where we're supposed to be. We were in Georgia, almost got carjacked. So it was like, I'm not, it's not Georgia. It ain't Georgia.
No, literally, we almost got carjacked.
That's another story. Like, I will tell that story. Trust me, I will tell that story. I'm gonna let y'all know, because that was a hot mess, because it was like we were on this journey of discovery, and God was allowing us to actually discover, but it was hard along the way.
It was hard along the way. And even that story, even this near carjacking is a sign of the grace of God on this whole move, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, and the thing is that it wasn't like peaches and cream, right? It wasn't
Everything
easy.
went wrong.
A lot, well,
everything.
A lot of
everything went wrong.
So funny. Like, we had a lot of stuff go wrong, right? We did.
No, not like, a lot.
On the way, because we hit that ice storm coming from Tennessee.
Everything went wrong,
Tennessee.
y'all. Everything. It was mucked up.
You're so funny. So okay. So let's say we made
that
trip.
The tires. We got scammed.
Yeah. No, literally, we got scammed.
Scammed. The tires ran out of air. We couldn't get the stuff here.
So let's tell why, what that really is. So what happened was, okay, so this is what happened. Let's kind of chronologically, right? Chronologically, this is what happened. We did our little bit of going back and forth, trying to figure out where it was that we wanted to move. Right. Okay? Then eventually we after visiting Nashville, Atlanta area, even further out from Atlanta, Savannah, we visited Charlotte, Raleigh, and High Point.
Yeah.
I mean, High Point, not Greensboro. Mm-hmm. We visited Greensboro, Winston-Salem. We visited all these places. And even some other obscure, like, cities that are further out, a little closer to the coast. Mm-hmm. We visited a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we eventually came to the decision that we wanted to move to the Raleigh area. Right? Mm-hmm. So once we had made that decision, then we had to pretty much sell our house. So we sell our house and still did not have a house.
We ain't had no house, not nan house.
And this is 2021, whenever it was.
That house sold quick too.
That's what I was going to say.
That house
sold. That's what I was going to say.
This was in the middle, middle of the pandemic, and that our house sold.
The housing market was crazy.
It was crazy. It sold like hotcakes. It was gone. It was
a few days,
literally.
So the house sold for, super quick, and then we had to move. And so, as trying to plan, we scheduled movers, right?
Yep. So
tell them about the movers, because. Tell them about your first phone call when you...
So I call these movers. Now, first of all, the easiest way to move cross country is to pretty much sell all your stuff. Just give all your stuff away, y'all. Give everything away, because...
Or give all your money away.
Give all one of the two.
Give all your stuff away, or give all your money.
So
you're not going to have it all.
We literally... I was calling everywhere. and people was quoting me like ridiculous, crazy prices, like, oh, it'll be $21,000, it'll be $30,000. One person actually quoted me like $40,000, of which I replied, the devil is a lie. And so like, ain't nobody paying no $40,000 to get big wheels to North Carolina. It's not happening.
Right.
So a lot of our stuff was like our kids' toys and stuff. That
Sadly.
that was a lot. And baby cribs and all that stuff. That was a lot. Yeah. But I called a lot of places, and one of the places was like, I can do it for darn near like a great price. Was it like
$7,000?
Yeah, he was like, I'll do it for $7,000. I was like, well, praise the living God.
Like that? Was it 7 or 11?
I don't know.
Anyways,
I can't remember the exact price, but it was less than 15 or something like that. It was like a reasonable price. And so I was like, well, praise the living God, because that was cheaper. The quote was cheaper than everything I had heard. So I was like, great. We gave them a deposit and was like, okay, we'll see you, when you get here.
But remember, like I was kind of like, I wasn't comfortable with them people.
Yeah. Joron was like, I don't think that we should go with these people. And I was like, Joron, I done called everybody and their grandmother and their grandmother's kids, and I can't find anything cheaper than this. So I was really excited to go with this. And Joron was like, no, he was just dragging his feet. And I was like,
I got mad about it, didn't I?
Well, I don't think you really got mad. You were just like, I just don't think. And I was just like, we can't find anybody else. Yeah. So, and we had already sold our house, so we had to get our stuff out of here. So it came, and I kept calling these people saying, hey, we got this. I gave them an itemized list of everything we had. And then day comes for them to come get our stuff. They bring a tiny truck, like the truck. What could you move in the truck? A microwave. You can move one microwave in this truck. And I'm like, we have a 4-bedroom house.
When we had a townhouse, a 2-bedroom townhouse, that's how big the truck was.
And they brought 2 guys. And I was like, now you told me that I would have a semi truck.
That's what they said.
Yeah, a semi truck, and I would have a moving crew of like 4 people. 2 guys showed up with a small, tiny truck you could fit a microwave in and a keychain.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then Joron is just lit. At this point, he was like, everybody, what day is it?
First of all,
everybody died today.
They came up with this. They came up with the small truck, and then they come looking through the house like, oh, they kind of looked a little like kind of shady, like, oh yeah, they were looking through the house. And they're like,
oh yeah, they did.
Back.
They itemized. They looked at everything. But I had already gave them a list of every itemized thing that was being moved. Mm-hmm. Everything.
So then they come back and they were like, okay, well, here's the deal. We can't move all this stuff for that price. Now that we've seen all the things that you have, here's the price. And they jacked the price up by $10,000. Not like $10,000, man.
Yep. And because the devil is a lie, we wasn't going with it. We were like, no. And then we were like, okay, why don't you just move a small amount of things? Just move a smaller amount of things, because I'm trying to prevent my husband from killing these people.
Because I was not happy about that. So they jacked the price up $10,000. Okay, they jacked the price up $10,000 on us, and so I'm hot. Anaya.
He was. Usually he's like really calm. Like he's usually not reactive. Like people don't get under his skin like that. So to see him about to kill them,
nice to other people.
Yeah.
Generally, I don't.
No, he was not at all. I was like, I had to intervene. Like, hey,
hey, let's try to smooth this over.
Yeah, let's try to. And I was like, to smooth it over, I was like, okay, well, just take the microwave and the keychain that you can fit in your truck, and then we'll try to figure out what else we can get there. My thing was like, okay, just take something. Take something, anything.
Yeah, so eventually, like, we just was like, forget it. Like, you guys are trying to scam us.
And they were trying to take our deposit.
Right. We're like, give us our money back. They're like, we can't do that because you'd refuse service. And we're like, no, we didn't refuse service. You sent us a dang on scam and try to just take our money. So anyway, I wish I could remember the name of that company right now and just blast them. But anyways, that's not very Christian-like, is it? No. I definitely put something on their website because that's trash that you treat people like that. But anyways, and that's a common scam, by the way.
That's really common. So
it's really common. If you're trying to move, you might just pick one of the main name brand people that's been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And just shell out all of your money.
No, sell all of your stuff.
One of the two.
Just go with your clothes, a backpack full of your stuff. That's pretty much it.
One of those two. So anyways, so we didn't have anybody to move. And we're like a week away from when we needed to be. Was that before we needed to be out or to show the home or before we needed to? No,
we needed all of our stuff out. Our stuff was packed in the garage from floor to ceiling. Everything was in there. Couches, hairbrushes, everything, Pampers, everything that you could think of was in there. And it was just like, okay, how are we going to get this stuff? Now, we had a few days. I think we had maybe like 5 days left that we had to have all of our stuff out before the people were going to be moving into the house.
Yeah, so we had to rent. So had to get, within those few days, we had to get a truck on our own. And then I pretty much had to do what was very embarrassing at this point. It's very humbling, and go and just on Facebook and just be like, all people that I know, can you help me move?
Can you help us? By the grace of God, my brother showed up. My brother's brother-in-law showed up, who was just the bomb.
Yeah.
And we had more friends show up that was just there to help us. And it was just like, my God, thank you. Because, people just showed up. The grace, our friends just showed up, and that was awesome.
If it wasn't for them, and as a matter of fact, some of them showed up more than once.
Yeah.
Because we had to move all of that stuff. Some of it we moved it into storage.
Yeah.
Right?
We moved it into storage because we could only take so much with us when we were going to put stuff in storage in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So and so when we came to North Carolina, we moved here, we sold our house.
Yeah.
We moved to North Carolina. All of our stuff was in storage here, or half of our stuff was in storage here. Half of our stuff was still in Minnesota, and we still didn't have a house yet.
Right.
So we stayed in a hotel. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, Lord Jesus. And I have 3 kids. Like, where are we going to move? So we looked for houses, but it didn't take us too long to find a house. I'm like the type of person, I walk in the house. I walk on, or from the outside, I usually know. And then when I open the door and walk in the house, I know if that's where I'm supposed to be. And I just walked in this house and I was just like, I love this house. I mean, it's on 3 acres. It's a quiet property. It was like, I loved it. And I was adamant with God. I was just praying. I was like, Lord, I don't want to get into a bidding war for this house. Mm-hmm. I was like, if it's mine, I'm going to have it. And by faith, I remember that day, I love the pantry because it has a pantry. And I was like, by faith, I went to Home Goods, which is my favorite store. Went to Home Goods and I was like, I'm going to buy some matching all white canisters to go in this pantry because on faith, I'm going to believe that this home is ours. Yeah. And I bought it. I was like, Joron, I have to get these canisters for the pantry of this house. And I didn't even know, we told our realtor to put in an offer on it. And she was just like, I don't know why they're taking, so long. I remember her being like, they're just like dragging their feet, like trying to see if anybody else was going to come and counter the offer. Mm-hmm. And nobody did. In a situation where
in a market where everybody was
and people were putting in 30,000, 40,000 above Raleigh asking. Area, it was absolutely insane. And I was like, Lord, we are not going to do that. Yeah. So we ended up getting the house, and I was just like, thank you.
We stayed in that place with the dog too.
Yeah, we had a hotel with our dog.
With
We
the
had a
dog.
Dalmatian, and
Yeah. So it was really tough. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like this. Like on any given day during this 2 week period, honestly, not just a 2 week period of time, during the period of time that we're like trying to figure this out, we're like, our faith could be super high or super low. It's just kind of a roller coaster because it's like one day it's like, I know that God is going to do this. I just know that. And he's done. It's not like he hadn't done things like it before. When we moved to the house before then, it was a very similar situation where we're trying to find a home, and we put bids on place, didn't get it, had our heart broken a few times, and eventually got the home, right? And that it was a very similar situation here, but it was different because it was cross country.
It was cross country. It was in the middle of a pandemic. We had our 3 kids
plus a dog,
and I had people like wondering like, why are y'all doing this now? This doesn't make any type of sense. Why are y'all moving? You have a nice home that you already have a great home that you're living in. Why are you doing that and going all the way across country?
Yeah.
And it was hard. I would go to sleep sometimes crying like, oh my God, especially when we sold the house. At that point, it was like, okay, there's no going back. This house is no longer our house. And I was just nervous-gated because we didn't have another house. It's like I'm the type of person who likes to plan ahead. And so when we sold our house and we didn't have another house we had the keys to in hand, it was like, oh my God, like I'm going where? What am I doing? Right. It makes you question, like your own sanity. Like, why are you doing this?
It's like Peter walking on water, right? It's like the reason it's like Peter walking on water because Jesus calls Peter to step out of the boat. Peter starts doing it, and he's walking on water, but then he starts looking around him.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a storm going on at the time?
Yeah,
I think it was a storm. It's a storm, and so you're looking around at your circumstances, and you're losing faith. But luckily, not luckily, but by the grace of God, we had him to kind of keep on encouraging us on a day-to-day basis because we needed it.
Yeah,
like we're just human beings. Like while we did hear God, and we're very confident that we heard God to tell us to move, but it was a lot of opposition on kind of in the transition.
Yeah, because we were trying to get our stuff there, and the U-Haul, we rented a U-Haul to put on the back of the truck, and the U-Haul tires, the U-Haul tires blew out when we were on our way twice.
So not only were we scammed, and then hardly were able to move, and then we found movers, and by the grace of God had people to help us move, and then we one trip coming down here with the U-Haul of like kind of some of our more important things, put them in storage. I think we had put them in storage, and then we put them in storage, and the trailer blew a tire on the way down. Blew a tire. I think it happened like in the middle of the highway. So we're just stuck in the middle of the highway. I think maybe we drove to a little gas station or whatever and had to wait. Then it happened again. Like we went back. I think we went once we actually got the house, we went back to Minnesota to get all our stuff and get it out of storage. And again, we had to have friends help us.
Also had a COVID scare. So we had to go to urgent care.
Oh yeah, we had a COVID scare.
My kids, my son, my youngest got sick, and I was like, oh my goodness, I think he might have COVID, which he didn't. But thank God, nobody got it.
So in that same town, in that same town where we had the COVID scare, blew the tire out again on the U-Haul thing. So, and that I wasn't even on the highway at that time. I was getting off the highway at that time. So in any case, like we had a lot of stuff happen.
Yeah. Just because God tells you to do something and you follow him doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing. There might be some rocky, it might be a rocky road, but thank God when we actually got here, it was like,
like you're able to kind of like breathe, because at the end of the day, when we got here, it was almost like the end of an era, you know?
Yeah.
And the start of a new era in our lives. Because here's some things like you kind of like God is saying to us like I'm gonna expand you, but in the meantime, what it looks like, I have 2 friends in this entire state, and it's COVID, so I can't even really see them. So I have 2 people that I know in the entire state that are my actual friends, and then maybe a handful of colleagues that I just know, and still some of them I haven't even seen in real life. Like these are like their work colleagues, right? So I don't, and all of my family and all of my friends are back either in Minnesota or just kind of dispersed throughout. So, so we pretty much literally have no real support system here, but we still know that this is where God has for us, because here's the blessing side of it, right?
It took a lot to get here.
It took a lot to get here.
Yeah, it did.
Here's some of the provision. We've only been here for a few years, so we don't know all of what God will have, for us in this space. But what we do know is that we've had an improvement in our home. Those houses that we were looking at all those years, I feel like we live in one now. And furthermore, we wanted more land, which is crazy because like she said, we were living on an acre before. So we have more land than that at this point. And also during this pandemic, we have the ability we have enough space where we can even grow some of our own things kind of during this pandemic and during all this famine and craziness that's going on. So plus
we don't have it's not like you don't have it's like a lot of space. It's like you don't wake up in the morning and then look over and then somebody is staring right back out at you, your neighbors. It's
our neighbors. Our neighbors are nice, and they're far enough away that they don't really care what we. Yeah. Most of them don't care so much what we do. It's not like people are all in your business about your lawn. Like, hey, when you gonna cut your lawn now? Like we used to.
That's us.
Or like they're looking at you like what you're doing with your Christmas lights and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. We had some issues in the past about that, but at the end of the day, God is faithful. Like He is.
But it also was a growing experience for us. It was amazing. When you look back, when you're not in the depths of it, the toil of it, the, oh my God, what if, oh my God, I can't. Then when you look back at it, it's just like, dang, we went through a lot to get here. And we could have moved back to Minnesota. We could have just been like, oh my God, this is too scary. We're going to just try to stay in an apartment in Minnesota and not come here in the middle of a pandemic. Because everything during that time was uncertain. Everything was uncertain. That's during the beginning when people couldn't find no Lysol, no toilet paper. The shelves were bare, and we still did it. Glory be to God. We still did it. And I thank God that now we enjoy not frigid weather.
The weather's a lot better.
It's like a lot better. Like the kids play outside a lot more, and we're usually in like hoodies a lot in the winter instead of like full on, under tank top, sweater, hoodie, coat, cap. 3 layers of socks, negative 14. No,
we don't have to do
some
that.
days they have it where it's kind of cold. Some days, but
if you're living in that situation, God still can bless you. But we just don't have to. We just don't have to deal with that.
We spent years there. How many years were we?
30 more than 30 for me.
No, I'm more like I like going to the coast. That's what a blessing North Carolina was to us too. Love going to the coast and
go to the beach a few times.
Yes, love that
explore this new land.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
so
we'll see what else God has in store. So
the journey into the unknown is sometimes frightening, but when you get on the other side, it's always a blessing,
Yeah.
you know. So you just have to trust God on that journey and know that He will never leave or forsake you. He will never let you down because He is faithful.
He is very faithful. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I suppose at the end of the day, my advice for anyone watching is just simply that if you have built a relationship with God to the point to where you can hear His voice, I would follow it. He sometimes leads you to do things that don't look all that, normal. He did it for Abraham. Matter of fact, you pick a prophet, pick somebody in the Bible that he didn't stretch or challenge or have them do something that looked like it would either put them in danger or look like it was just off by a little bit. But God knows, He knows, and He loves us more than we even love ourselves, and knows the end from the beginning, and what He will guide us to will ultimately be better for us, even if we have to struggle in the meantime.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks, guys.